Hello, Gareth here, and it's time for another watercolor ramble. And today it's about a nightmare exhibition, and this happened in 2014. So, I had a small exhibition in a shop in a place called Usuki. So, Usuki is a small town in Oita prefecture, and it's famous for having a lot of very old traditional Japanese buildings, especially temples. And you will see some of my paintings of Usuki. I hope you enjoyed them. There is one particular street, and there are many temples along that street, and I actually did do a painting of that street, which hopefully you will see now. They also every year have a bamboo candle festival. So basically they get lots of bamboos and they put candles in them and light them. But they do lots of designs and arrangements, and you can imagine as it gets darker it looks very, very beautiful. And I'm sure I did a painting of something like that, but I'm not sure where that is. But one day I have to do a painting of that because it is very, very beautiful. So anyway, back to my nightmare exhibition. The first part of this nightmare was that I couldn't show 3 of my best paintings, and now you're going to see one of them. And the reason is they were a larger size than I normally do, and I didn't have enough money to buy frames for them. So at that time there was a sudden cash flow problem, and it basically took away all the money I'd saved. So that's life, right? And so that was a real big disappointment to me. And another thing I should point out is that I actually went to Usuki before the exhibition to do some paintings of that place, and this big painting you see now is one of the paintings I did from that trip. And then this is another one that I'm really happy from. I climbed up a hill and I got this lovely view of the railway line and decided to paint this picture, which I'm very happy with. And these are paintings I did 7 years ago, but I still like them very much. And maybe the other one is the painting of the street, which I'm going to show you once again. And I actually sold that painting to a Frenchman who lives in America, and he's a black belt in karate. So he really liked that painting, and yeah, that was very nice to sell that. The other 2 though I still have. So anyway, that was the first nightmare. I couldn't show those paintings. Then the second nightmare was the printer, the good old printer, yeah. So I'd made some postcards advertising the event, and they looked really, really good, and it took a long time to make them because it involved translating everything from English into Japanese, and that's not easy for me, especially 7 years ago. And then finally the final result was spoiled by a big inky tire mark over nearly all of those postcards. So that was really upsetting. And then the third part of my nightmare was the printer again, because I had a big problem doing the labels for the paintings. So it wasn't really the printer's fault. I had this very strange situation. I was basically trying to do an exhibition on a shoestring. I wasn't prepared, I didn't have a lot of money, and just things were not good. And I had this very strange situation of having 2 computers, Now, one computer had Microsoft Word, and that's the computer on which I made the labels, but sadly I couldn't connect that to the printer. I don't know why, but I couldn't. And so basically I had to send this to another computer that was connected to the printer. But of course, well, this printer didn't have Microsoft Word. Yeah, I know, I can't understand how this happened, but there you go. I'm not very computer literate, and maybe I had to download it using some other software. Basically it was a nightmare, and I had to get my wife's help, and she was not particularly happy about that. And the labels did get printed, but they were supposed to be postcard size, but instead they came out A4 size. I could only do them on A4 paper, and this was in the morning before the exhibition. And so on the way to the exhibition, it was maybe a 30 or 40-minute drive. I was in the passenger seat with a cutting board and a cutter and these labels, and I was cutting them down to postcard size and sticking them onto postcards. So it was a real stress, big nightmare. And then at this stage I thought that the nightmare was finally over. There was a huge sense of relief when I arrived at the shop and I was ready to just put up my paintings. But then something really funny happened. They had hooks on the wall, and the hooks were really close to the ceiling. And when I've got like some string on the back of my paintings and painting frames, and of course I put these over the hooks and that holds up the painting frame, but the hooks were so close to the ceiling that I just couldn't get the string around the hook, because the frames would just press up against the ceiling and I just couldn't get that string to go around the hook. There wasn't enough space, not unless I had bendable frames. So that's when the next nightmare began, and that was so unbelievable, and I wasn't expecting that at all. And anyway, I asked the owner for some sliding hangers that I could put on the hooks, and then the sliding hanger has a hook, and then I can put the painting frame onto that. And it was interesting because at first she just looked at me like she couldn't understand what I was saying, but eventually she did, and then she went away for about 5 or 10 minutes, and all this time I was quite stressed, because if she didn't have any sliding hangers, then what was I going to do? But anyway, she did come back, but once again the comedy continues, because she didn't have like a series of hangers. She had this real strange assortment of things, and some of them were like hangers, like weak plastic looking ones. Then she had some handmade ones made from thick steel that had been crudely twisted into into a kind of thing with like a hook on the end of it, and it was just unbelievable. It really was. And then she had some stringy ones that were made from something like hemp, and they had like a little hoop on the end, and when I put my or a loop, and when I put my finger in it, it just came undone. So anyway, basically I looked through these odd assortment of hangers. I chose the best ones, and then with the string ones I just I retied them and checked them with my by myself. I just pulled them and checked that they were strong, and then I managed to put my $70 frames on these hangers, feeling a little worried that they might fall off the wall, but they didn't, luckily. So, but then when I looked at my paintings on the wall, the alignment was like a yo-yo. Some were up, some were down. And so I felt really, by this point, I just felt very, very unhappy. But then my wife said she thought it looked good. And my wife never gives a compliment unless she really, really means it. And that's quite, in one way, that's really bad because she doesn't often give compliments to me, to be honest. But when she does, it's very, very reassuring because I know it's like a quality remark, a quality compliment. It really is meant. And anyway, I'll add a link to this YouTube video, and you can go and have a look at my blog article, and I've got some photographs of the paintings on the wall. And one of the great things about the wall was that it was black, and that's very, very rare, but it actually looks absolutely fantastic. So anyway, that's it. That's my story and my watercolor ramble, and I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe a final word is that after all that effort, going there on a trip and doing 3 big paintings and then going again and putting up my work and making labels and so on, I sold not one painting. I made nothing. Okay, I'm wrong. I sold a few postcards and I must have made about $3 or $4, and the shop wanted 20% of that. I just thought it's ridiculous. And sometimes it's almost better to make no money than to make just a few pennies like that, to be honest. But I eventually did sell one of those paintings to a French guy who I met on the internet. So that was something. So I hope you enjoyed this watercolor ramble, and I hope it brought a little bit of joy and inspiration into your life. And I hope this isn't ending on a disappointing note, because I will add it's 2021 and that's 7 years later, I believe, and I'm still painting. I love painting, and last year I did an exhibition and I sold about 11 or 12 paintings and I made about $1,000. I had to give, that's when I took my cut, which was about 30%. But my 30% added up to $1,000. But it was a great exhibition. It was nice to make a bit of profit and nice to sell my work and to meet some people, and that is just something I want to leave you with, because you might see that as still not so great, but it was a lot better than this exhibition in 2014. And I love to paint, and I still have the hope that I will become a successful artist, and I will continue with these rambles. So I hope that inspires you to continue in your life and not to give up. That's all. Have a lovely day. Bye for now.